Good morning, Scott here, known as Cantaloupe to some online, and I'm bringing a video to you on a subject that's interesting to me. It might be of interest to you or someone you know, and I want to talk about modern communication between people. I recently made a video about jumping through hoops and people who abuse communication or the absence of communication as a lever to get obedience and control in a relationship, for example, but I want to talk about something different about communication, where unfortunately, there's an attitude going around that people have to be nice. I want to clarify something. People aren't obligated to be nice. There's a wide area between hate speech and making you feel good. There's a whole bunch of stuff in between, most of which is perfectly allowed. It's allowed to not be completely nice to people. I want to go on record here and say that you don't owe people courtesy. Courtesy is your choice. Okay, the definition is something that's not required, it's not expected necessarily, but it's something above and beyond. You're not required to be courteous to people. You are allowed, for example, to tell people to shut up. Yeah, no, that's not hate speech. You're allowed to tell people to shut up. And there's a difference again between, attacking somebody's race or their religion or their ethnicity or their sexual orientation. There's a difference between attacking them and being assertive, okay? We are at a point, apparently, where people have forgotten what communication is about. They expect you to make them feel good at all times. They expect you to say things that are designed always to be supportive and to make them feel good, and if it's not specifically designed to make them feel good, then they do things. Now, here's an interesting segue, and a segue to the things that are, maybe you've heard of shadow banning. Maybe you've heard of conspiracy, and there are actual conspiracies. There's conspiracy theories, but there are actual conspiracy facts where people will network and block you, perhaps, or talk trash behind your back. And this is nothing new. This has been going on since the dawn of time. But what is new is the technology and the speed with which it can be done. The total efficiency and saturation that can happen sometimes when people are shadow banned, when they are group stalked. This is a new thing that's been going around. Maybe you've heard of group stalking, where a lot of people will, decide a certain way about a person, and they will collectively treat them a certain way based on that assumption. And it can be from something as simple as failing to say something that made them feel good. This is where we're at. It has become a witch hunt. If you fail to make somebody feel safe, even though you're not obligated to, you can't. Even if you wanted to make everybody feel safe, it's not even possible. You can't guarantee safety. There's always something that could happen, and there's people who just never feel safe, no matter what you do. It's an unrealistic, unreasonable expectation to demand that people give you a good feeling. No. They can use profanity. People are allowed to use profanity. People are allowed to be assertive, energetic. They're allowed to tell you to shut up. They're allowed to tell you to they're allowed to express whatever is on their mind, up to the point where they are literally attacking your person. They're not allowed to do that. They're not allowed to go, on the media, for example, or broadcast something that's not true about you. If it's true, on the other hand, and it's relevant somehow, and it's related to them especially, then they're definitely allowed to say that. Even if it's damaging to you, if it's true, if it exposes something that you did that was improper, that is not a crime on their part. If you're doing something improper and somebody calls you out for doing it, no, that's not hate speech, bro. I'm sorry. They're allowed to do that. They're actually required to do that. They have a duty, a responsibility to the community to call out people who are, beyond a point, causing problems for other people. Even if it's a collective, even if it's a group of people who have influence, who have technology, who have, networks, especially then, because there's always going to be some minority, some, small group of people who are their victims, right? Who are represented by calling these people out, and it's the only proper thing to do. So my point again, in conclusion, I don't want to go on and on. There is this expectation that everybody must be supportive all of a sudden. Support is given, not taken. You don't demand support from people. That's not how support works. but there are whole groups of people. I don't want to name anybody necessarily because it's not a targeted thing against certain people or classes of people, but they demand support, and if you fail to support them, that becomes a crime in their book. But that's not right. That's not true. No, I don't have to support you. If I had a kid, if that kid is my dependent, and it was a result of my conscious choice that I made, something that I actually did that precipitated a consequence, that's one thing. Just to support random people? No. You're not required to support people. You're not required to be supportive in your language. You're not required to be courteous, safe, supportive, refined. You're not required to be polite to people. These are courtesies. Every single one of the things I just mentioned is a courtesy that you can choose if somebody earns it. If you feel up to it. I'm quite sure about this. And it's sad. It's sad. Last thing I'll say, it's sad that people, especially in small towns, sometimes they forget what it's like in the city, where these ridiculous expectations that somebody's going to placate you, somebody's going to pander to you and ingratiate themselves to your magnanimity because you happen to be on the city council or some bullshit. They forget what it's like in a place where that doesn't fly. They forget what it's like in a place where people, it's not their first rodeo. They know how to communicate, and they're not afraid to use whatever words they need to. You can't tell people what to say. In this country, we understand and recognize the freedom of speech. It's a constitutionally guaranteed right. It's the First Amendment, the very First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, and it's not created by that. It's not created by the document. It's reflected. It's an inalienable right, which means even if the document were to be destroyed, it has been discovered, not invented, that it is a property of a working civilization. Inalienable means it cannot be separated from you, no matter what. You cannot lose the right to speak freely, which means you can say whatever you want within reason. Until you're lying, until you're attacking somebody's persons individually, you can say whatever's on your mind, however you want, wherever you want. I'm quite sure. Reach out with questions or comments down below. Thank you.